the universal dominator, Lord Boros, and the alleged protector of Earth, Nolan Grayson, or Omni-Man. If these conquerors would come face to face, who would end up on top? Let's say instead of Boros meeting Saitama when he came to Earth, he came in face with Omni-Man. So who of these conquerors would win between them? When speaking on Lord Boros' attack potency, he varies depending on which state he is in. As at his very weakest or his unreleased state, he's unimpressed with Saitama's power as he showed tearing through his entire ship. And we know this isn't just overconfidence, as one of his abilities to actually sense people's power, which he does to Saitama. And he can actually tank said Saitama's attacks without a sense, it just released his armor. This is important because said Saitama can destroy 23% of Boros' ship, which said ship can easily survive Saitama's casual jump from the moon to said ship, with the actual calculations placing Saitama's jump at around multi-continental due to the damage it caused to the moon. For said aforementioned scaling line, at base Boros would solo Demon Slayer. When he actually starts using his power in his power's release state, he gains a massive jump in power, as Boros is generally one of Saitama's most strongest opponents he has ever faced, as he can not only tank but counter many of his attacks as well as somewhat damage him. And with the fact that he is noted to be strong by Saitama is something that no one has ever done besides the Cosmic Fear Garo. Essentially, you have Boros who would be above almost all of Saitama's foes. This can be shown as he doesn't even recognize Orochi, who he even one-shotted, with Orochi being able to move massive chunks of the Earth's core in small fractions of time, with said feat being calculated upwards of small planetary, with Saitama countering it and then ending him within one blow, although Boros can still be above small planetary. In doing so, we need to go over the Blu-ray One Punch Man Compass info booklet, which in its name, it's basically just a data book for the One Punch Man anime. In itself, it's not only shown with collaboration with One Murata, and with the anime still being worked on by them is just based upon the manga itself, there should be no contradiction to not consider this guide as non-canon, as it's just to give us further information upon the anime which is based upon the manga and worked upon the creator. With said guide stating that Boros' latent energy can destroy planets, with his power release state being referenced on 2 separate occasions to be his full power or energy, and with him being leagues above small planetary threats, it would be consistent that Boros would be planetary. However, with his meteoric burst being the peak of his power, and gaining power and speed beyond the body's limits, he's able to drastically increase said stats at the cost of zapping his life force, though not at an immediate life zap. And again, looking back at the One Punch Man Compass guide, states while utilizing the collapsing star Roaring Cannon as enough force to completely obliterate a star. And for those who say this is traumatically inconsistent, it isn't really. Boros in his meteoric burst is so strong and fast that he's generally able to surprise Saitama. This level of expression has only been seen towards Cosmic Garo. We also know that Garo can damage Saitama similarly to how Boros did, so it's not consistent to say that Boros at his max power, essentially putting his life on the line, would be comparable to that of a super casual Cosmic Garo. And for the consistency, said aforementioned Garo is able to produce a gamma ray burst. This is undoubtedly a real gamma ray burst, as he as his being is able to understand and control all the cosmic universal forces, and even when using it, the narrator goes on a tangent explaining how it's a real life equivalent to said explain how a black hole is born from the explosion of supermassive stars, etc. upon it, with gamma ray bursts outputting energy anywhere between 10 to the 45th to 10 to the 47th joules of energy, which each to its own is enough power to destroy an entire solar system several times over on the higher end. So granting said Boros' star level attack potency is very feasible with his comparability to said aforementioned Garo. Now whether you think Boros has as his attack potency or needs to use the collapsing star Roaring Cannon or otherwise has a hack on that level is up for interpretation. So what you're looking at for Boros' attack potency, he's on the lowest end of multi-continental all the way up to star level. Boros' latent power or power release state is able to react and counter and attack Saitama. He can even momentarily speed blitz said Saitama. This is important as said Saitama was able to effortlessly outspeed the strongest version of Monster Garo. With said Monster Garo at his weakest state with Platinum S was able to create a constellation in such a ridiculous time frame, with this feat being calculated at 4.33 times the speed of light. And then right after that, in said instance, he was able to speed blitz him in such a way, giving the weakest of Monster Garo a speed of 188.87 times the speed of light, making Garo massively faster than light. With each evolution of his monsterization, it's stated that he gets stronger, and from continuing off that, he had 3 transformations in total against Saitama. If we just assume each evolution is at 2 times from the last, Garo at his max would be over 1,510 times the speed of light. And just to be conservative, let's assume that a power release Boros is equal to said Garo. In his meteoric burst, something that drastically increases his speed, if we just bare minimally assume it's a 2 times amp being generous, that would make Boros at his max speed over 3,000 times the speed of light. And he would be in those massively faster than speed of light plus ranges of speed. With the only real ability we haven't mentioned that isn't a multiplier would be his regeneration. He can have his arm blown off and regenerate in seconds, and the highest capability we've seen, he's able to be blown to many pieces and then pull himself back together. This level of regeneration is what some would call mid-high regen. Omni-Man's most infamous feat of him flying to the Mantis planet in just a week, with the distance of said planet being stated inside the official handbook of the Invincible Universe, that it's located in the Virgo Supercluster Quadrant, which is a real-life quadrant that is 65 million light years away from Earth. With said feat being calculated, it goes upwards of way over 3 billion times the speed of light. Now it's come to my attention that a lot of people have contentions with Omni-Man scaling to his flight speed, as in said handbook it states that he makes subspace jumps. This isn't true, as for one, it says it closely relates to subspace transportation, and it explains that smart atoms can retain information and their current state by passing information throughout each other, with a miniature subatomic subspace between each other instantaneously. Essentially, they just keep the body together with said miniature subspaces. In doing so, it's also stated they can ignore inertia on some level with their flight. Not to mention that it directly says that this only occurs when they first reach their max speed, meaning without this explanation they still need to get to said speed first. And even if you disregard this, Thrag is able to catch and react said Omni-Man mid-flight, and with an even stronger Omni-Man being able to tango with said Thrag, he would undoubtedly scale to his now speed. And with the absolute minimum, Alan is someone who is stated to have equal fighting or combat speed to his flight speed, with Alan flying from Earth to the coalition of planets, which ironically is also stated to be in this Virgo quadrant, with Omni-Man at his weakest be able to contend with an even stronger Alan, making it consistent that Omni-Man has these massively faster than speed of light speeds. With Omni-Man being blatantly above an early Mark with the horrendous beatdown he gave him, we can easily scale him off of Mark's feats, such as he tanked a nuclear bomb potent enough to cause the biggest solar flare in history, with an average solar flare releasing energy to the 25th power of joules. This early multi-continental scaling is consistent for said Mark, as in his fight against Alan, he was able to crush him into the moon so fast all the debris moving at such speeds was calculated upwards at 8.19 times 10 to the 28th joules, almost moon level actually. With said moon level power being consistent for Omni-Man, as it's been stated that 37 average Viltrumites, some nearly dead, have enough power to rip the earth in half, with said feat being calculated at moon level, and even stronger Omni-Man being so strong that Viltrumite hybrids just be killing themselves by crashing into him, with dozens of them doing this. You can easily say him just existing would be on that moon level echelon. However, there is a higher end to make these lower characters' feats more consistent for Omni-Man, and it's that he played a major role or factor in destruction of planet Viltrum. And real quick, just to debunk the notion that people say that he doesn't scale to it due to Infinity Ray weakening the planet's core, and the fact that Thetis claims that if they did not struck at the right time they would die. However, the terminology they use is could, not will, thus based off his own words he was unsure if they would die or not. And he shouldn't be taken as a completely reliable source, as he is someone who has been fighting for years and wouldn't know his or others' capabilities to a T. And if you say that the Infinity Ray did weaken the planet enough where they could destroy it, that's fine, as all the calculations made about this is actually calculating the actual damage we see them cause, not theoretical damage or explosion of Viltrum. With said destruction of Viltrum being calculated at its lowest small planetary to consistently planetary for each contributor, to the actual explosion after the initial destruction, which they all tanked as they were caught in it, with the explosion actually being calculated essentially at dwarf star levels of power. However, there's a higher interpretation for Viltrum, which stems from Space Racer and his Infinity Ray. In issue 35, it's explained by Omni-Man that the Infinity Ray was said to be able to destroy not only planets but stars as well. However, this was only theories at the time, but when he actually confronted him, he learned that both him and his guns and the capabilities, even though as far-fetched as they seemed, were all real. thus meaning his gun can actually destroy stars, yet did less damage to Viltrum than what he did, and he was a far bigger contributor to destruction than the gun itself. This would be giving Omni-Man star levels of attack power, which can be consistent as if you go over the fact that he's already established these skills above an early mark, who is able to kill dinosaurs from what we've implied effortlessly, which he's able to one-shot Omnipotus, which inside the official guide to the Invincible Universe is stated that he was able to destroy a star system via a chain reaction he caused. It's also stated right underneath that section that anything he destroys, he absorbs the energy of said destruction and allocates it to his own power, which a star system is just a small cluster of stars, essentially giving Omnipotus or anyone that scales off or to him or even above him would be in those solar system ranges of attack potency. So for Omni-Man's attack potency at the lowest, he is multi-continental, to more consistently he is solar system level. With Omni-Man not really have any abilities besides the standard super strength, flight, or any of the standard stuff you'd see him do in the series, his only real ability is his minute control over subatomic manipulation, due to him having control over his own body or smart atoms which are subatomic in nature. After going over both respective party stats and abilities, we see that Omni-Man has the utmost of advantages. He is so massively faster than Boros, it's honestly no chance that he even has of perceiving him. Strength is also massively in Omni-Man's favor, as if you want to assume that he normally scales to his collapsing star roaring cannon, which he most likely doesn't, he would still be at most star level, while Omni-Man's massively upscales from people who can one-shot solar system level combatives. Boros' saving grace in this fight would be his regeneration. At his strongest transformation, he can pull himself together even after being splattered. However, he can't do this indefinitely as seen with Saitama, as he used a serious punch, and he's in general already putting his life at stake into his Mirror Burst. Overall, Omni-Man would have not only a win in almost every attribute, but overall in the bout nutrition as well. And that's all, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, as I personally think this is my best video yet, and catch you on the next one.